We back getting buckets, episode 13. Football though. We ain't have football in a minute, so we got some football back. I'm your guy, Will Brooks. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure y'all share. Yeah, man, just make sure y'all tapping in. But it's been a minute, so man, I'm ready to get right back into it. As I mentioned, football back. And the biggest story that's been of the offseason is Shedeur Sanders, really. He's been the biggest story. And he just recently had his first preseason game, which was his first test of the season, because they don't have a lot of tests because it seems like they're trying to prove a point in not playing Shedeur Sanders and not drafting him, letting him go as late as he did, because to me, I think he was better than Cam Ward, who went number 1 in the draft. And he's definitely better than everybody else that was drafted before him. So whether that's Dillon Gabriel, who's on his own team, you have Tyler Shook, that's in New Orleans, Jackson Dart, who he impressed in his first preseason game as well. But I still don't believe any of them coming out of college is better or was better than Shedeur Sanders. And so, as I mentioned, he aced that first test. He played Carolina in his first preseason game. And according to all the reports, he's had little to no reps the entire offseason. Definitely not with the ones, probably not even with the twos. Very few reps with threes and fours. And yet he went out there and looked like the best quarterback of the draft. When you compare him to everybody that played preseason games, he looked the best. It was him and Jackson Dart. They both looked better than Cam Ward, who was number 1, as I mentioned. Dillon Gabriel's hurt, so he hasn't played much. Quinn Ewers looked awful. But yeah, when you looked at the two best quarterbacks coming off of the first preseason game, it was Shedeur and it was Jackson Dart. But to focus on Shedeur Sanders, that first test was immaculate because he had to pass that one. If he didn't pass that first test, he wasn't getting another test. They're trying to knock him off of his high horse that they think he has, the bravado. They don't like it. They don't like his pops. So they're doing a lot to make sure that he doesn't get opportunities that he should have, even though they know he's probably the best quarterback on that team and on their roster. They have Joe Flacco, but he's 40, about to be 40, so you only going to get so much out of Joe Flacco. Then you have Kenny Pickett, who we know what Kenny Pickett does. He hasn't been able to lead anything. If he was able to, he'd still be in Pittsburgh, and they wouldn't have went and got Russ and Justin Fields last year, and they wouldn't have went and got Aaron Rodgers this year if they thought Kenny Pickett was that guy. So we already know what he is. Dillon Gabriel, there's nothing that I've seen, whether college, from what we've seen in practice, what all the media and team personnel are saying. Dillon Gabriel is not better than Shedeur Sanders. He hasn't looked better at any point in his life, and he hasn't looked any better while he's been hurt for the Cleveland Browns recently. And for some reason, they still have Shedeur Sanders number 4 on their unofficial depth chart. And that's why, to me, when everything is saying this dude, even if you want to have him wait behind Kenny Pickett and Flacco because they have experience, even though I wouldn't do that. But even if you want to make that excuse, there's no excuse as to why Dillon Gabriel should be having a higher spot, higher opportunity, higher reps than Shedeur Sanders. He has not proven that he can do it, and right now he's hurt. And so coming into this next week, we'll see if, I assume Shedeur will play again. We'll see if Dillon Gabriel's healthy enough to play. But coming into this week, I assume Shedeur should have passed Dillon Gabriel. And what we know is when you're hurt, you give other people the opportunity to come in and take your place. And not only do you allow that to happen, but when they play better than you and you've been hurt, and your performance in practice has been lackluster and worse than the other guy who's been playing a lot better than you, and now he went out there with little to no reps and done what you couldn't do against your own team. That is not really out there scouting, like they just free-flowing and you playing defense, you're getting the playbook down, and he looked better than you against an actual defense that is trying to stop you a little bit. Granted, it's all preseason, so everything is vanilla. Nobody's showing much of anything anyway. But your practice should be a lot easier, especially because he's been hurt since they've had pads on, which is kind of when they amp up practice. He was playing in shorts and T-shirts, and he couldn't complete passes, and he was throwing interceptions, and he couldn't read what was going on. But Shedeur, even when you compare him to the veteran quarterbacks, has looked better than them. When you look at the numbers that have been posted, when you hear about what all the journalists and commentators around the Cleveland Browns are saying, they're all saying Shedeur Sanders. There's no way that Shedeur Sanders is not performing the best out of all 4 quarterbacks. And so that leaves the conversation of, man, why are they doing Shedeur like that? And as I mentioned, I think it all has to do with his pops and the bravado of that Sanders family. And it also doesn't help that he's black while doing it, because the Mannings had that same kind of. Eli Manning refused to play for the San Diego Chargers. He refused when he got drafted to play for the Chargers. But you didn't have this kind of thing going around when he refused to play who actually drafted him. You didn't see this happening. But when it happens with a family like Shedeur, when your pops is Deion Sanders, they got something to say. And so for me, and what everybody else has been saying, it's really simple. He just got to keep his head down and keep playing ball, because the opportunity gonna come. And if you got game, your game gonna show. So they can't take the game away from you. You just got to be ready, because they're gonna throw you into these awful positions. And we already seen it happen. And they threw him into that first preseason game with little to no reps. Like if you knew he was starting that game, he should have come in getting the reps so he could have a quality chance at performing well in that preseason game. But no, you didn't give him any reps. And yet he still performed better than all the other quarterbacks on your roster would have performed. And that's why, to me, keep that head down, keep balling, because I'm rooting for you. And I think all Black people are rooting for Shedeur. I ain't never sat down and watched the preseason game as intensively, as enthusiastically as I did watching that first one, because any little mistake is going to be crucified when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. And to his credit, he didn't make one mistake in that game, not one that you can really crucify. And he looked well beyond his years of being a rookie quarterback in that preseason game. Now, again, this is not me making a big deal, because it is simply preseason. But preseason is how you make rosters. Preseason is how the lower drafted players happen to get contracts that end up becoming bigger contracts. This is how Antonio Brown got his chance. It's how Tom Brady got his chance. It's how all the low round draft picks get their chances, by performing. This is how Dak Prescott got his chance. This is how all of them get their chance, by performing in preseason. Because without it, they don't have a chance, because you're just automatically going to take the first or second rounders and you're going to play them. But the rest of them, you don't really know who they are yet. So if there was no preseason and you didn't have anything to judge it on, the low rounded picks would never have a chance to become superstars, as we've seen some superstars become who are late round picks. And so, yes, I understand. And that's everybody's critique has been, oh, it's one preseason game. We understand it's preseason, but the whole point of preseason is for them to go and get out some of these kinks. So when the regular season start, the rookies ain't out here, messing around and not knowing what they're doing. And it's the first time they're seeing NFL defenses. No, this is what rookies are for. I'd agree. It's just preseason when you talk about the Joe Burrows. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase was out there looking immaculate, but it's preseason. For them, that makes sense, because they're already in the prime of their careers. They've been doing it for a minute. So the preseason doesn't matter. But preseason for Shedeur Sanders and preseason for all rookies and low rounded picks matters. So he's going to have to pass that next test when it comes, which is going to be this week. I assume he's going to play again. We don't know when Dylan Gabriel's going to play, and that's going to be the real test, when one of them plays a half and the other one plays a half, with the same people, with the same, whether it's the ones, whether it's the twos, whether it's the threes, whether it's the fours. That's going to be the real test, because right now, Shedeur's test is a lot harder. Dylan Gabriel's been getting reps with, whether it be a couple of reps with the ones and some of the twos. Shedeur's been getting reps with really no reps, and he's also been getting, and when he got in the reps, it's been with fours, maybe threes. So they don't have the same test. The way I'd grade the test is I'd put them both in the same predicament. I'd give them both the ones, the twos, the threes, the fours, and see who looks the best with the players that are there. And so we're going to see what happens. But right now, Shedeur is looking good, and we hope he keeps looking like that. The next stories of the offseason has been the trade. It's been two big trade requests, and they're actually holding in right now. One, Terry McLaurin in Washington, and Micah Parsons in Dallas. Both in the same division, both vital and crucial to their team. We could start with the Commanders. This is something where I don't think this would have been a problem if Jaden Daniels was in year 3 or 4 and he had the cachet to be like, I need Terry McLaurin on this team, because like, who else he better throw to? They went and traded for Debo, but Debo ain't what Debo. This ain't Debo from 3-4 years ago. This is an older, bigger, less in shape Debo. And Debo is good in a role where he gets to be the utility. Like, you can put him at running back. You can put him out at receiver. You could put him out in flex positions all across the field. But to line him up at receiver and say, go beat the best corner, that's never really been Debo, and that's not Debo's game. But that is Terry McLaurin's game. So I think you add Debo to Terry McLaurin, that's something that can work. You take Terry McLaurin away, that receiving core is not going to look the same. They need Terry McLaurin because he's the one that's going to take the top off. And it's crazy to me that they won't pay Terry McLaurin, because before Jaden Daniels got there was little to no hope for the Commanders ever. There was no reason to talk about the Commanders. There was only one person there that people actually thought was good on the Commanders, and that was Terry McLaurin. And he was there, and he's been there this entire time. They've been bad, and now they finally get good. They get a quarterback, and they don't want to pay him the money that receivers are getting. I don't think he's asking for Jamar Chase money, that $40 million. I don't think he's asking for CeeDee Lamb money. I don't think he's asking for Justin Jefferson money. But in between that 30 and 33 range, somewhere around what DK just got, I don't see why he would take anything less. He can do everything DK can do. He makes tough catches. He's always available. He's a captain. You hear nothing bad about him. You ain't never heard anything about him with police or anything outside of football. And again, the play on the field backs it up. And I don't understand. We've had enough of a sample size to tell quarterbacks need a number one option to get it done. Look at what Josh Allen looked like before he went and got Stephon Diggs. And now all of a sudden he's an MVP after he gets Stephon Diggs. Joe Burrow, there's a reason they kept both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, because Joe Burrow said, I need both of them or we're going to have a problem. And that's what I'm saying. If Jaden Daniels was 3 or 4 years later, I don't think this would have been a problem. They would have went and got him done, because he would have pulled rank and said, y'all going to keep my guys or I'm going to end up finding my way up out of here. But they're going to need Terry McLaurin without a doubt. So we'll see what's going to happen. But like I said, I don't know who's Terry going to be throwing the ball to without, or I don't know who Jaden going to be throwing the ball to without Terry McLaurin. So they're going to have to fix this problem very fast, because the season's going to be here in like 3 weeks or so. They got 3 weeks to figure it out, and I don't see any other receiver possibly being traded. They talk about Tyreek maybe being traded, but that's rumors and whatnot. But they need somebody there, and you already got Terry, knowing offense, chemistry with Jaden Daniels. Just sign him. There's no reason not to. It should be a no-brainer, honestly. So we'll see what happens. But the Commanders will need him. Micah Parsons, on the other hand, now this one, I ain't never seen an owner do the most ridiculous things as Jerry Jones is doing. Micah Parsons, since he came into as a rookie, he put himself in the top 5 player conversation ever since he was a rookie. Not just defense, top 5 player in the NFL. He put himself in that conversation, and he's been there since he was a rookie. Let alone, we just talk about the defense side of the ball. He's 1 or 2. It's probably him and Myles Garrett, TJ Watt. It's those are the 3. When you talk about defensive players, particularly just pass rushers, because you can throw Pat Surtain in there, Fred Warner in there. I think those are the 5 best defenders. Pat Surtain, Fred Warner, and those 3 big old pass rushers I just named, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons. I think those are the 5 best defenders. But when you talk about just pass rushers, I think it's him, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt. And I think he's the best of all of them, because he's the most versatile. Not only can you put him out on the edge, but you can put him at middle linebacker. I mean, he can blitz from the middle. He can play a little bit of coverage if necessary. He could track down running backs in coverage. He can do all that kind of thing. So to me, everything that he can do gives you an extra boost of what you can do with him. And that's why I think he's the best. I think he's the best pass rusher in the NFL and the best defender in the NFL, because he can do that. He can do both of those things, and you can play him at 2 different positions on defense, and that versatility cannot be taught. But Jerry Jones, he does this every year. Did it with Dak, did it with CD. Now he's doing it with Micah Parsons. Dak, you can understand, because I don't believe Dak was ever like the elite of the elite quarterback. So you can understand why you kind of hold out and you don't want to pay him top quarterback money as top paid. He did anyway. CD is good. CD's one of the top 5, 6 receivers in the NFL. So you paid him, even though, and that one was also a holdout. Didn't make much sense. You didn't have to do all that. Micah does, like I said, there's no reason not to pay Micah. Like Micah, as they've said Micah was hurt. Part of the reason he said he don't want to pay Micah, because Micah was hurt for 4 games. Like, it's part of football. Everybody get hurt. Honest, and what everybody was saying was he should have been out longer than he was. The 4 games he was out, they said he should have been out longer. And he came back and tried to help the team and put the team on his back and make a difference. And you're going to blame him for that, for coming back sooner than what he probably even should have. But Jerry Jones is going to learn. That's why the Cowboys don't win anything, because he consistently does this. They can go into a season, if they ever go into a season 1 year where they ain't got to worry about contract holdouts, coach getting fired, whatever it is. This could have been that year. Granted, they did get a new coach, so that would have been the conversation. But you think that this would have been a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer for no-brainer contracts to do. And the problem that Jerry finds himself into is that he waits to the last minute to get all these deals done. When you look at most teams, they pay their guys after year 3, maybe year 4. You wait all the way to the end of the contract. Nobody's about to give you a discount now. If you pay me 3, if they had paid Micah Parsons 3 years ago, the contract value would have been a whole lot less than it is now, because he waited this long. Had he paid him 3 years ago, and you wouldn't have to worried about this coming down to the last moment like this. And if you keep paying players early, I think they're willing to take a discount. But when you let them play all the contract out, and now they don't have any guaranteed money, and now it's possibility of them getting hurt, and then you're going to use that against them when they're trying to get paid. It's like, why am I giving you a discount now? I'm going to take all the money I can get and run. But if you pay them early, now they're willing to take for one, they might take a discount because they keep guaranteed money on their deal. But 2, the contract value that's across the league is not as high. The longer you wait, the more people just going to keep getting paid. Same thing happened with Cincinnati when they had to pay Jamar. They should have paid Jamar 2-3 years ago when he was asking. They waited, and then they had to make him the highest paid non-quarterback after Myles Garrett got his deal. And so it's just money just keeps, when you could have got players for $20-30 million cheaper in guaranteed money, when you could have got players for $8-10 million less in annual value money, you wait and wait and wait. And I just don't understand it. Pay them early, and it saves you money in the long run. It keeps the player happy, it keeps your team happy. It keeps everybody without having to worry about, oh, is Jamar Chase going to be there week one? Is Micah Parsons going to be there week one? Is CeeDee Lamb going to be there week one? That's the kind of thing that these players have got to get over. I mean, the owners got to get over paying these people. They got to pay them early. Wait until the last minute does nothing but make you have to pay them more, unless you're going to trade them. And for me, it's like when people talk about contract holdouts and like, oh, the teams own these players, right? Sure. But for me, it's like, if you're not going to pay him what he's worth, and somebody will, why you gonna hurt yourself to bite a bullet? Like, you gonna hurt yourself to prove a point? Like, why would you do that? Trade him, Micah. If you ain't gonna trade Michael, I mean, if you're not gonna pay Micah Parsons, trade him. You're going to get one of the biggest hauls, if not the biggest haul in NFL history. There's people that'll line up right now. They'll give you 2 first-round picks without thinking about it. If you find the right team, they might give you 3, along with some players and maybe another third or fourth or whatever, without thinking. But you can get 2 first-round picks without thinking about it for Micah Parsons. So for me, it's like, if you're not going to pay him, like, let him go somewhere else. Let them pay him, and then you can have the draft assets. You can get players back, whatever you want to get back, and you can still have a chance at competing in time. Like, if they had if it was going to take this long and you're not going to pay Micah Parsons, why not at the draft? That's when you make that trade. So now you not only do you have your draft pick, but you might get another 2 or 3 in that draft. You can get a 1, a 2, and then another one for this coming year, or maybe another one for the year at, like, and that's why you're able to fill out that team, and you're never going to find Micah Parsons again. That's a generational player, which is why, to me, it's a no-brainer and why you should have paid him in the first place. But at least you can get guys back that maybe together they can equal the value of Micah Parsons, because somebody will pay him, and that's the problem. Somebody's going to pay him the money he's asking for, because it's only you that wouldn't do that. Only Jerry Jones is the one that's not going to pay him. And Cowboys fans, they know it. Like, it's the same thing every year. And they wonder why they haven't won since 1995? Like, they haven't won in 30 years, and they're not any closer to winning because they wait till at the very end to pay all their players. And now they wait till all the very end. And now all your money's tied up in 2 players right now. All your money's tied up in Dak and CeeDee because you paid them so late. So now you get to Micah Parsons, who's the best player out of all 3, and you won't pay him. And even the players know. They like, bro, just play him. Just pay him. Stop playing with his name. And that's when you know that the team's in the wrong. Like, none of the players mad at Micah because they know he want to be there. He just want to play football, but he also want to get paid for it, and paid right. As he said, he would have taken a discount, and he's been saying he would have taken a discount. But the difference between a discount and then trying to fleece somebody, we got to make it right both ways. I ain't saying I need to be the highest paid, but you can't be out here trying to give me money and making me a mid-tier paid player when I'm the best at my position. And I'm the best in the world on this side of the football. You can't do that to me. So we got to make it right. I ain't saying I need to be the highest paid, and I'll take this pay cut because I do want to be here and I want to help the team. But one, if I'm taking this pay cut, you need to come to me early so I can keep this guaranteed money on my contract. But 2, I need you to make sure that I'm not getting screwed here, and I need the money to be right. As I said, don't need to be the highest paid, but I can't be the lowest paid. And going into this offseason, what was the main problem with the Dallas Cowboys? It was, one, did they have another receiver besides CeeDee Lamb make plays? You go get George Pickens. The other one was, I need to fix this entire defense outside of Micah Parsons. Your defense sucked with Micah Parsons, who is probably the best defender. Now you're going to get rid of the best defender rather than just paying him and putting the pieces around him. You're going to get rid of the best defensive player when your defense already needed help. How much help you think you're going to need now when you have a generational player? You need help with the generational player. Now you not going to pay the generational player. You're going to come week 1. Let's say he don't play week 1. And when they give up 38 points, that could have been 50, but the other team they was up by so much, they just called off the dogs. You're going to see why you need Micah Parsons. You're going to see why. And they know. It's always happens. Just pay your players. Pay them and keep it right. You keep it pushing. That's all you got. That's all you got to do. Pay your players, keep it right. So that's been them trade requests. And now for this last thing I just want to talk about, I'm going to hit all these divisions in coming weeks. So this next one, we're going to start with the NFC West. And I'm going to pick my winner, who I think will win the division, just based off offseason moves, based off whoever playing, that they've added to their team, addition, subtraction. So for me, I think the winner of this division, and I think they should be the winner of the division pretty easily, is the Los Angeles Rams. They've added Devontae Adams. They didn't lose much. Yeah, they haven't lost much. They lost Demarcus Robinson. You add Devontae Adams. You lose Cooper Kupp, who's had a couple down years, but you add Devontae Adams. So I like them. They haven't, then like I said, they didn't lose really anybody else. They added Poona Ford, so that should help because what I thought was their biggest problem last year wasn't the offense, wasn't necessarily all of the defense. It was their secondary. The secondary needs a little bit of help, but it was also their run defense. Their D-line was built to rush the passer, but they weren't built to stop the run, and that's where they lose games. When you think about Saquon running crazy in the snow, when you think about what he did on what was that, Sunday night or Thursday night, one of the primetime games, when he went ballistic against the Rams, what he did in the snow, as I mentioned, in the playoffs. That's what they needed. They needed a Poona Ford in the middle to help shore up that run defense, and then you allow Jared Verse to go get off. That's what you need. So I feel like they filled that need. We'll see how the corners develop, because the secondary is young, the safeties are young, the corners are young, so they got to develop there. We'll see how they develop coming into this year. But I feel like the offense should be spectacular. The defense, because of their pass rush, should still be solid. With the addition of Poona Ford, the run defense should be even better. So their D-line should be pretty tight. Their linebackers are solid. It's just about the secondary. But if you can get to the passer like they were able to do last year, it helps the secondary. So they go hand in hand. Because then they don't got to cover as long when you can get to the passer. But as I mentioned, you can't allow them to just allow teams to run the ball down your throat, and you not be able to answer. I think they've fixed at least one of those problems. So they stopped the run. They're gonna be able to rush the passer, and that should allow them to be pretty good going into the season. And what also helps them, just division-wise, as we're talking about, the division is just not as great, honestly. The division, the Cardinals, they're very young. They've got a lot of guys that they need to progress. We still need to see more from Kyler Murray. Year 2 of Marvin Harrison. We'll see what that looks like. They did get Will Johnson in the draft, who I believe will be a really good corner for years to come, but they're young. And I just don't think they're going to be ready to compete for the division yet. I think they're going to have to give it. I don't even think they're going to be ready next year. I think 2 years from now, if their players develop correctly, they'll have a better chance. Because I don't believe their defense is great. I don't believe their offense is great. I don't believe their defense is good. And I think their offense is all right. They're too up and down. They can be, they're one of those teams where offensively, 1 week they could be, oh my, they were unstoppable. Kyler Murray and company was unstoppable. The next week they just fall off of a cliff. So they got to find a frequency where they're consistent. And until they find that, that's going to be their problem. And the defense, they got to fix the defense. As I mentioned, they got Will Johnson, who's going to help in that secondary. And they got a long way to go. As I mentioned, a lot of their guys are young, so they got a long way to go. The Seahawks, I'm not a believer in Sam Darnold. Wasn't even a believer in him last year. I think it was yes, he's playing better than he played with the Jets. But to me, it was like, I wanted to see him when the lights were bright. There was no pressure coming into the season for him last year. And then as soon as the pressure started getting to mount up, when it was the last game of the season, when they could have got the number one seed, he fell apart. They get to the playoffs, he falls apart, and he looks like New York Sam Darnold. So we'll see. Now there's not really much pressure again, but if he gets to the playoffs, that's when the pressure mounts up. And I just don't believe him. I don't believe they're going to get there, because they're going to have to be a wildcard team again. And I don't know. They got Cooper Kupp, they got JSN now. No more Geno. They lost Geno. They released Noah Fant. They lost DK Metcalf. So we'll see how it's going to go. Cooper Kupp's going to be the replacement for DK, but they lost Tyler Lockett. So they're going to have to find new deep threat, because Cooper Kupp is more of that slot, intermediate kind of guy. JSN can get down the field. So, and if he evolves into what they drafted him to be, we'll see. But again, it always going to come down to the quarterback. The defense over there is solid. I still believe they need more pass rush over there, but they got good corners. They got Devin Witherspoon. They got Tariq Woolen, who hasn't been as good since his rookie year, but he's still a solid corner. But they got to get a pass rush over there. There's only so long corners can hold up, and I believe that's what Seattle's been missing for a minute, is a pass rush. They need a pass rush over there. But yeah, and I believe if you don't have a great pass rush and you don't have a trustable quarterback, it's hard for you to win football games in the NFL. And I believe they're shaky in both spots. You either got to be able to to win, you got to be able to rush the passer, or you got to have a passer. And I don't think they really have a reliable one either way. So because of that, I don't believe they're really contending. I think they'll be better than the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals finish last, I'd probably say. And then it's going to be a toss-up between Seattle and the Niners. The Niners lost too many guys to compete, I think, immediately. I think it's going to be way too, and it's another thing where Brock Purdy's going to have to step in. Everybody called him elite a couple years ago. I don't believe he's elite. But if he is elite, this is where he's going to prove it, because now he has to go win without all the adequate weapons he used to have. Brandon Ayuk, torn ACL. They said today he's projected to hopefully at earliest come back week 6. Debo, as we talked about earlier with Terry McLaurin, Debo is over there in Washington, so he's no longer there. On defense, they lost Dre Greenlaw, their other stud linebacker, opposite of Fred Warner. They lost Talanoa Hufanga, their star young safety. They lost Javon Hargrave on that D-line. So they lost a lot. They've lost a lot of players over there. Jawan Jennings talking about wanting a trade or new money. So there's a lot of things going on that ain't right over there. So it's going to be, can Brock Purdy step up and raise his ceiling and raise that team ceiling rather than the team raising his ceiling, which I feel like they've done for him to get up to the status he's gotten to. So you saw last year when them guys was hurt, how'd he look? He didn't look like he looked the year before. And now these guys are gone all the time now. So we'll see. He has Kittle. There's McCaffrey. We'll see what's going on. It's going to take some time for, I believe, that team to get back. They're going to need some pieces. And so it's going to be a work in progress. So what happens when you pay a lot and you don't win? So now they paid a lot. They have to get rid of a lot of guys, but they don't have that bling or ring to show for it. Like the Rams, when they spent all that money, they had the ring to show for it. Then it collapsed for a year or two, and then you get right back at it. And when you get the draft picks, because you got to start over at some point when you pay those big bills. But that also, they have Matthew Stafford, who can uplift a little bit. He can't uplift, like, he's not a Brady, he's not Peyton, not Mahomes, not Lamar Jackson, not Josh Allen, not Joe Burrow. But Matthew Stafford is still a very good quarterback, and he's better than Brock Purdy. He can do more than Brock Purdy can, obviously. And I think that's going to be the limitation for all the rest of those teams. I think it should be the Rams pretty easily to win. They got the best team on paper there, and it's not like they should have good team chemistry. Granted, we'll see how Devontae Adams works with Matthew Stafford, although Devontae Adams is the quarterback's dream because of his route running. So he's going to be in the right spot at the right time. But the problem is what could hold the Rams back is Stafford and this back injury he's had, because he hasn't been able to practice all summer. So they're hoping he's going to be able to get back out here in the next couple of days. He was in street clothes today after they said they thought he was getting better after he threw a lot of passes. They said no, he didn't feel any pain, but he was in street clothes. So maybe he woke up sore or whatever. So we'll see. That could be the one downfall, is him not being healthy. Because as I mentioned, you either got to rest the passer or you got to have a quarterback. The Rams possibly should have both. But if Matthew Stafford's hurt, they do have the ability to rest the passer, but who's their backup quarterback? I think is it still Stetson Bennett? So who knows? We'll see. But yeah, we're going to get back and hit more of these divisions later on in the next coming weeks. Before I hit every division before the season come out. Drop a lot more episodes. Next time I'll hit more fantasy football too. I just can't give out all my cards until my drafts are done. Once my drafts are done, then I can get all my cards to everybody. But until then, I can't have everybody. I can't have people in my leagues knowing my strats. You dig what I'm saying? But we will hit some fantasy football. And then football will be here until basketball get back, and then we have basketball and football. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah, that's been Getting Buckets episode 13, man. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm Will Brooks, man. Make sure y'all tap in, make sure y'all share. Follow all the socials, man. We back, so make sure y'all tap in. Peace.